Hello everybody, and welcome to another instalment of The High Road. My name is Noel C. Blundell, and I'm sitting here with Remington Liam Blundell. How are you, Remy?
Good afternoon, Dad. How are you?
Very well. How are you, buddy?
Same here. Very well, very well.
What's been happening in your world?
I've just been really busy with pursuing my life, I guess.
That's a good thing to pursue.
Yeah, it's been a bit cold, so I've been a bit crook recently. But other than that, I've been getting past it and moving on.
Well, health is an issue, and that's what we're going to speak to today. Today we're going to speak about men's health and highlight that this coming week is Men's Health Week, which runs from the 10th of June until the 16th of June. And that's an initiative to raise issues around men's health.
Yep, and June is Men's Mental Health Month, which is very heavily overlooked and not spoken about at all.
Well, it's interesting you mention that because the standard response to men's issues is to ignore them.
That's right.
There you go.
Don't you find that interesting, though? It's not talked about anywhere on a large scale. There are some very helpful organisations out there for men to reach out to. We'll name off some a bit later on. But when you talk to anyone about it, men's mental health, it's mental health, they all agree and are very passionate about it. But it's not spoken about anywhere.
So who do you think is driving that sort of mindset? Is that men or is that women?
I'm not too sure.
Because men are very stoic in nature, aren't they? Don't show emotions, don't speak.
Yeah, and I think stoicism is good, but it's not the answer to everything.
No, I don't think so either. I don't believe so.
I don't think being unempathetic is helpful. But, at the same time, I think the reason why it's overlooked as well is a lot of stigma and a lot of shame.
Men's mental health?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. I agree with you there as well.
And I spoke about stigma in a newspaper for an article I wrote, and a lot of it was breaking free of the chains of mental health stigma.
Yes, there is a lot of stigma around that, and that formulates the foundation of the mental health first aid certificate and training that I have done. You've done that as well, haven't you?
Yes. And suicide training we did not long ago.
Yeah, that's right. So that underpinned, there was a very big section of that training was around stigma and how to spell stigma. I think we've spoken about stigma before.
Yep. And sorry to cut you off. We've spoken about this topic already before, but we thought it would be a good idea to speak out about it again, given the relevancy of it in this week and this month.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been fishing around on the AMHF site. That's the Australian Men's Health Forum, and they're a peak body for men's health in Australia. They were formulated in 1995, and the 4th National Men's Health Conference was open and run in 2001. They have a very interactive website, which is worth having a look. It states as our work supports a number of government health policies, including National Men's Health Strategy 2020 through to 2030, which aims to improve the health of men and boys, particularly those at great risk of poor health. Now, health is a big issue for men, isn't it?
Of course.
I think that lots of health issues with men are dealt with a very firm, she'll be right, mate.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's starting to prove to be detrimental to figures. How can health checks save men's life is an interesting question they ask on the website. Fewer chances to get health checks. Are men given fewer chances to get health checks, do you think?
I don't know. I think yeah, but I'm really unsure because I don't think anyone's turning them away from a health check. I just feel like it's not. They don't think of it as an option.
No, I tend to agree with you. I think what it is men are reluctant to take time off work because of that notion of providing and protecting and things along those lines, and supporting your mates.
Yep.
So if you're not at work, you're not supporting your mates, right? And doctors are usually only open between 8:30 and 5 every day.
Yeah.
So there's a conflict there immediately, right? And with that she'll be right attitude, that just sets it up for a situation where men are reluctant to go to the doctors. So therefore they don't break down those fear barriers and they don't learn how to have those discussions around health, which is very important.
Even I'm a bit like that. I don't like going to the doctor.
Well, when did you last go to the doctors?
Oh, it's been years.
Years?
It's been years, yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go.
I've been relatively healthy, though.
You've been very healthy indeed. But when, these are some of the behaviours that we ingrain in our everyday lives. So when are you planning to break the back of that? Just out of interest.
Well, usually I have no fear of going.
Yep.
I just usually, if something comes up, I'm just like, I'll give it time and see what happens. And I think that can perpetuate a mistake where you never go. But generally, when something happens, it goes away after a while because humans have this insane ability to survive.
Yes, we do.
So I haven't had anything major come up, if that makes sense. That's why I haven't gone for years.
Yep.
Then COVID as well.
Yep.
So that's COVID shut all doors of doctors almost.
Yep.
And so I was at home, so I wasn't, didn't feel a need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, well, they were pretty stretched through that period as well.
They were very busy. So there's been a couple of reasons why, but I haven't got a fear of going at all.
Oh, well, that's good because a lot of men do, particularly my age. We can make it easier for men to go and have health checks by taking the health checks into the workplace. Now, some major organisations have done that, and that's been very, very successful. And even if you're healthy, just getting checks done is very handy. Did you know that 50 men die per day from presentable diseases in Australia?
You're kidding.
No.
50 a day, that's 350 a week.
Yes, about 18,000 a year.
Wow.
Yes, and they suffer premature death. Yes. They're saying that's in the millions and millions and millions of lost productive living hours gone.
Wow, I couldn't imagine alcohol not having an impact on that as well.
Oh, addiction is a big one, mate. There's a number of things that contribute to that figure of 50 per day, sadly, and that is suicide, which is a big one. They're saying that's the number one cause of death for age groups between 10 years of age through to, I think that was 55.
Yeah, well, because I think the upbringing of men, say, I don't know, between the 1940s and 1960s, or even 1970s, from when they were born to today, has been very, very different. So I'd love to see in, say, 40 years for me, when I'm a mature age male, what has the impacts of the upbringing when I'm from my age been, if that makes sense. I put that horribly, but you get my point.
Yeah, from your era, from this epoch forward, and what the ramifications on health and well-being is, and how it plays out. That would be very interesting. The other contributions to that loss of men is workplace injury, addiction, and things along the lines of high risk behaviour and things along those lines.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Do you think that people kind of dance around the topic of men's mental health because of fear of, like, it's just kind of like a touchy subject in a way? Like, it feels touchy when I talk about it.
Yes.
People are like, oh, men's mental health, and people get their back up.
Yes.
It's like, oh, are you against women?
Yes.
Does that make sense? And, like, that's not what we're about at all. And that's not what I'm about at all. I feel like men need the extra help.
Well, unfortunately, in the discussions that we're having in society today, that any discussion around men's issues does warrant that comment of, are you a misogynist?
Yeah, because I can't help but feel that when people ask me, oh yeah, like, what are you interested in? I'm saying masculinity, men's mental health.
Yes,
and I can't help but feel that their immediate reaction could be, oh, what about women?
Yes,
and I'm not there to disclude women at all.
No, that's not what it's about.
Exactly.
It's about opening up the discussion actually for very real and meaningful conversations around health and well-being.
I think that's why people kind of dance around it as well.
They certainly do.
It's weird. Men's mental health controversial. It's health.
Yes, I know, but it is. I think for a long, long period of time, I'm talking generational here. Multiple generations, men have been portrayed as the warriors.
Yeah.
Hunter-gatherers. If there's a war and the barbarians at the gate, you send the men in. That's the saying. That's the saying, is it? Send in the men, right? That's what they did. That's what they did in the Boer War. That's what they did in World War One. That's what they did with Napoleon. That's what they did with World War Two. We've got footage now we can see where men are going onto the beaches at Normandy, right?
Yeah.
That's what they did. But for men to do that was terrifying. That was absolutely terrifying for men to do that and carry out those activities. But they had to be stoic about that and not show any emotion.
Yeah.
Right? So society depends on men's stoicism and their ability to face the barbarians with conviction. Right?
That is
and don't
fascinating.
stop until the barbarians are overrun and the citadels and the cities and the people are safe again. Right?
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. Like, it is men's responsibility to face darkness in a way.
I agree, but I think it's out of balance, that's all.
It is, yeah. I think that's very interesting what you said as well, that society relies on men's stoicism, and I couldn't agree more with that.
It does.
It really does.
And that also culminates into other aspects of our society too. You know, when the winds are blowing and the floods are coming, and you know, it's the men that get out and put the roads back together. It's the men that put the power back on so people can turn on the televisions and cook and do those sort of things and make
just
sure
get
we
on
have
with it.
gas and make sure that the roads are clear so the children get to the hospital and schools and that life can get back on track. It's the men that are out in the cherry pickers and the machinery putting up the high tension wires when they've been blown down. It's the men that are out there fighting the bushfires when townships are being desecrated with fire and people are losing their lives. So and that's been the norm for quite some time, and that's overlooked pretty quickly. I know there's women firefighters out there, and I know women contribute to those sort of activities, but predominantly for many, many, many generations, it's been the main men.
Yeah, like, that's definitely right. And I think men at my age are still being encouraged to be emotionally very stoic.
Yes.
But like almost to a point where it's unemotional.
Yes.
Not vulnerable at all.
Yes.
And I'm an emotional person. I disagree with that. But, you know, sometimes, and this is a terrible reference, but like I just scroll social media sometimes and there's just comments of men that still say that. They say, I was in a relationship where I like showed my emotion and then it was used against me.
Yep.
And it fell down. The relationship fell down because of it.
Yep.
And I think some men are still being encouraged to not reflect on their emotions and not feel vulnerable.
Yes.
And because it's like, I don't know what it is, but women need that emotional stability, definitely.
Yep.
But we shouldn't shut down men's emotional side because of it.
Absolutely not. And I'd like to say those gentlemen who did show their emotions to their partners and their relationship shut down, you're in the wrong relationship.
Yeah.
You were wrong. You were with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And you should be thankful that happened.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to invest your entire life in that relationship and it falls over.
Yeah.
Well, because you're showing a bit of emotion, a human side. If people are going to disown you because you're human, you're in the wrong room, mate.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong fish pond.
I think it's incredibly masculine and very strong to look within your own emotions and display some of that. I've had some long conversations with my partner about it, and I think that's what would kind of help men in relationships get over that fear of emotional, is just talk about it with your partner.
Yes, absolutely.
Be like, look, I can't hold this in for 40 years because it'll kill me.
That's correct, and it does kill you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you know, with your partner, you and your partner ultimately need to make a safe environment so you can express anything you need to, really. And it should be the safest environment in the universe.
Yeah.
And I'm not underestimating that. That's not an understatement, right? So that's how it should be at the end of the day. So unfortunately, that's not how it has panned out for some young men, and which only creates and reinforces the confusion that young men are going through.
Do you think back in the day how mothers would raise the children primarily, do you think that relationship between mothers and sons have kind of impacted, and you know, this isn't anyone's fault, but has kind of impacted men on displaying emotions, and when the sons move away from their mothers after being brought up by them, they kind of lack that validation and acceptance beyond the boundaries of the mother, if that makes sense. They kind of seek it through their relationship. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, you are. Look, throughout history, there's been many, many traditions throughout native tribes where the sons are taken away from their mothers, and I've heard of some of the ceremonies in Africa. I think it is tribal men are taken away for long periods of time. Like I'm talking 3 to 6 weeks away from their mother, and through that period they learn how to hunt. There's many ceremonies. I think There is a scarification process that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Bones in noses and things along those lines. And when the son returns back to the village, they actually return back to the village a man. So therefore, the mother has to enter that relationship then with another man, not her son, and that's specifically to break that bond down between mother and son. So then the son takes responsibility for himself, not turns back to the mother for answers to everything.
Okay. Right? Yeah, because I was kind of thinking like when you're a little boy, when you're upset, you go to mum for, acceptance and validation. And do you think because men go without that and don't really know how to transition properly, they're kind of bounded up because their partner isn't their mum in a way?
Correct. That is true. But all men do still need to be nurtured.
Of course, that's what I mean. It's they don't feel like they can seek the nurturance from their partner, so they hold it in. I don't know. I'm just kind of.
I think all that
throwing ideas.
I think all that aspect is really confusing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have a situation now where men aren't launching. They're not leaving home. They're staying at home.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're still staying in the care of their mothers, and they're entering mature age. Like we're talking 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. I know of gentlemen who are still at home with their parents and they're well over 45. It's not good, right? So there is issues here, and we're going to speak to that. I'm going to run a Zoom course actually on that specific topic, which will be coming up the end of this month. So stay tuned, get on the website, and that course will be coming up for mothers who are in a quandary or who are stuck with ideas of how to work with their sons to actually help them and support them launch into their own life. That'll be called the Mothers and Sons course. I'm looking forward to giving that. And I'm looking forward to helping mothers and sons achieve some very monumental life goals.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. There's issues around that, and it's a very sensitive topic. It's a topic that needs clear opening up with clear steps of how to improve that situation. Parents try to do the very best they can all the time. And they're only making decisions on the spur of the moment, so with not a lot of information, and it just has to be the best decision that they can make, right? With the society that we have today that desecrates masculinity and puts down young men, is making it very, very hard, particularly for mothers, young men, and fathers, and families. That's why we're seeing a whole cohort of young men staying at home. That's why we see cohorts, large groups of women going out on their own. We have rising numbers of lonely people out there, right? Loneliness is starting to become a big issue, and it is reflecting in bouts of depression and anxiety.
Do you think social media?
Oh, absolutely, 150%, because social media is an immediate remedy for loneliness. Lots of people sit on their phones well into their evening scrolling on social media. Right? Social media is a huge responsibility for this level of loneliness. Because when you put your phone down, reality comes back, doesn't it?
Yep.
Right? And so what do? You walk around in a circle, you go to the toilet, make yourself a cup of tea or get yourself a Coca-Cola or whatever it is. You sit down again, and what do? As soon as that feeling of being alone comes on board, you pick up your phone, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so there's lots and lots of issues there. Anyway, we'll keep on working through our health check because men's health is the topic of the week. And some of the questions they ask on the website from the Australian Men's Health Foundation is, when are you going to have your next check?
That's a good question to ask yourself.
When are you going to have one?
Probably soon, I reckon. Well, it can never hurt to get a health check.
I tend to agree with you. And some of the things you got to look at is just simple stuff, really, just to get an idea of your body mass index, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your blood sugars. All those can be done in a simple blood test, which doesn't hurt and is worth doing. See, the thing is, when I started going to the doctors, and I never used to go either, I wouldn't go for a long, long, long time. And that's probably because I didn't want to be reminded of all my bad behaviours and bad habits that I'd had picked up over the many years. and I didn't want them to be brought to my attention. But I did start to attend doctors when I started to get a mature age, like over about 40, 45, 50, I suppose. I started going and seeing a doctor, and lots of stuff I didn't like to hear, and of course, and I didn't want to face. So that's part of the problem too. Males don't want to face their health. They just don't want to face it. It's too hard, right? I think it's an emotional roller coaster. It's some of those, those sticking subjects that you just don't want to. You can put them off easily, so you do, right?
Yeah, it's like everything's okay now, but in 5 years it could be bad.
Well, and if you don't plan ahead, it's going to be bad. And I know I've personally experienced how bad it can get, and because of my lifestyle and my behaviour, it got really, really bad for me, culminating in a heart attack and a major surgery of a triple bypass. So I spent a considerable amount of time in Monash Hospital, and thank God that the expertise and the wonderful people at Monash cardiac wards were there, because I wouldn't be here if they weren't. Since then, I've taken my health considerably a lot more serious today, and cleaned up act, and changed my diet, and exercised regularly, and I've never felt better. But I was forced to take those steps. Now, keep in mind, gentlemen out there, that the first sign of heart disease in 50% of patients who suffer heart disease is death. That's the first sign.
Yeah, which is freaking terrible, because every single heart attack or death by heart attack is a tragedy. Like that time, I remember when I was, happened about a decade ago, didn't it now? 9 years ago?
Yeah, 8 or 9, I think.
Yeah, that was a tragic time. That was not easy for any family.
It reflects on the whole family. It's devastating. And I have personal friends that have lost partners. Like the partner's gone out for the day, and then next minute the police are knocking on the door. That's how it happens. That's how fast it happens. And these people don't know that they have heart disease. And
I remember you saying you had a friend that you spoke to on Wednesday, sorry.
Then they ring me Thursday morning.
Yes,
I've had that. Yes,
and passed because of a heart attack. Yep.
Yes. So part of the doctor's experience. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your life and how much you're misbehaving and how you know, because deep down you know. Everybody, particularly every man, knows there's that one thing stupid that they're doing. They know what it is. They deny it. They put it off and they don't look at it. But you need to get that up occasionally and dust that off. And eventually you need to stop that stupid thing, right? And once you go through that process of eliminating those stupid things in your life, your health will pick up, and it won't be so bad to have a conversation with your doctor, right? Yeah. But you also need to start a record. You need to start records of where your system and where your body's at, right? So that's why I started to go in. It was to get a bit of a record of, okay, what is my blood pressure? How much do I weigh? What are these spots on me back, right? These sort of simple things. And 99 times out of 100, you go to the doctor to say, yeah, unless you've got something like the flu, because we go if we're sick, we'll go. But if you got something like flu or something like that, you'll find out it's not that bad. You come out and the relief of the tension, the stress of worrying about your health is alleviated, right? And then you start off again. You start to get better immediately. Not only do you physically get better, you psychologically get better, right? But you need to get the numbers on your blood pressure, and you need to know where your senses are at, like how your vision's going, how your teeth are going, how your hearing's going. You need to have a discussion with your doctor around prostate.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
It's a big one, and it sneaks up and no one knows. Now, I'll let men know at the moment there is a blood test for prostate cancer. So you can have blood taken, they examine your blood. If there's elements of that blood that indicate that you have some sort of growth or some sort of movement, cell movement, they can tell you via the blood test, right? And then it goes on from there. But, it's not that as invasive as the images conjure up around prostate cancer. So you also have to, you can also be blood tested for different cancers, You're going to have your heart monitored quite simply with a couple of stickers put on your chest and a couple of probes. I think it's called ECG, electronic cardiograph. I think that's what it's called. But they can do that. The doctor stands there, takes them 15 minutes, a couple of stickers, a couple of wires, boom, boom, lay down, breathe, here you go, then you've got a record of your heart activity, and then your doctor keeps that. So if you're not feeling well, you go and you have another one. They've got something to measure it to, right? So you can do that on a period of time. You can have have a chat to the doctor about your psychological well-being, and it certainly makes you think about your bad habits.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I even get a little bit anxious when I need to go to the doctors.
Oh, yeah. We all do.
Even when it's nothing.
Well, recently I was going in to see the doctor, and every time I walk in or doctors, because now I've got heart disease, I have a blood pressure issue. I've got to watch my blood pressure, and that's fine. My blood pressure's fine, right? When I walk into a doctor's, because I get a bit anxious about it. Still, I've been many times. I've been down. I've been to hell and back with the doctors. But anyway, well, God bless them. My blood pressure elevates 40 to 50 points. I've walked in and my blood pressure's been at like 198 over 130.
Wow.
Well, that's at those levels. You can go. Let's go to hospital immediately, right? Anyway, as it turns out, I suffer a ailment which is known in the profession, the medical profession, as white coat syndrome, right? So and I'm not the only one. This is very, very common, right? When people go to doctors, their blood pressure is up because they're under stress, right? It's a fight and flight mechanism. The body thinks we're going into battle, right? And that's how stressful it can be to go into the doctors. So all you guys out there, it is stressful. Acknowledge that. But you have to start doing it sometime or it may be too late, right? Anyway, so I went to the doctors and, of course, and I said, I just say now, just take my blood pressure. If they don't think about it, get them to take your blood pressure because they load it all into the computer and you've got a record, right? So it's about record keeping. That's why I go, to keep a record. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So I go into the doctors. My blood pressure is always 40, 50 points over normal. And they go, look at your blood pressure. But see, now, since I've had troubles for the past 8 years, I've had my own blood pressure machine. And I chuck it on my arm every now and then, like every month or so, just to have a little look and write it down in the book, right? And when I'm feeling really bad and psychologically I start to have a bit of a personal crisis of what's going on, and I put my blood pressure machine on, and if my blood pressure is telling me I'm normal, I feel a lot better, and 9 times out of 10 I've got a cold coming on or I've got a flu coming on, right? It's nothing major. I'm thinking it's major because I've had the experience before where I've ended up in Monash cardio ward. Right?
Well, that's right. I was just about to say,
right.
you've had a bit of trauma associated with that. You've gone into hospital thinking, oh yeah, you're just feeling a bit off.
Yep.
But then you've been in there for 3 weeks, heart surgery and everything.
Yep.
So it
triple
comes
bypass,
from
open heart surgery, like the full enchilada. Yes. Anyway, and then the 8 months to recover from that. So what happened was, the last time I went to the doctors, it was to get a script, because I've got to take some medication now after having that procedure, to get a script. And how you going? Your blood pressure's too high. And I said, well, it's not normally like that. He says, well, you've been in here twice recently and it's always like that. I'm going to have to start considering putting you on more medication. Now, I don't like medication because I like to control my health myself. I like to take a big, healthy hand in managing my health and well-being. So therefore, he said to me, I'll tell you what, for 2 weeks, take your blood pressure morning, lunchtime and night, write it down in the book, come back and we'll have a look. Sure enough, I went and did that, and it was a task. It was a pain to do that, but I did it for the doctor's sake and for my sake, to make sure that when I wasn't walking into the doctor's, my blood pressure wasn't mile high, right? And of course, it come back normal. And I walked in there. I said, can you take my blood pressure, please? He said, yep. He took my blood pressure. It was 40 or 50 points over what it should be there and then. I got my book out and give it to him and said, there you go, that's what it is at home, normal. And it was simply because of the stress. And I've been there so many times now, and I was under control, and I was going in there for a script. There was nothing wrong with me, right? My blood pressure was still high and I didn't even notice it. That's how stressful it is. It's operating in your subconscious. Guys, You're stressed about going to the doctors because it's in your subconscious. You don't want to speak to them about the issues. You need to. You have to push through that barrier, right? Anyway, I have normal blood pressure. But when I walk into the doctors, it's sky high every single time. So just have a think about that, right?
Did you want to hear some statistics on some men's mental health?
Yes, mate, because mental health can affect you subconsciously as well. Where you don't know, it's creeping up on you. You got a knot in your stomach. You can't sleep. You drink a little bit too much to put yourself to sleep, but then you don't sleep well. These are all issues of mental health that can accumulate over a long period of time and become very detrimental on you. Yes, mate, go.
Yeah, I took this from a previous episode, but I just thought we'd go over again. You know, almost 4/5 of deaths by suicide were among males. That's 79%. Men still account for 3 in 4 suicides in Australia. 2021, 3,134 people took their own lives. 75% of those were men. That's 2,360 to 786 female suicides. Suicide kills more than 8 Australians a day, claiming the lives of 6 men and 2 women every single day on average.
Wow.
And with figures like this, you'd think like, wow.
Well, you think it's a movie, really.
Yeah.
Are we? Is this the reality? Is this reality? Is this actually happening in the 21st century?
Yeah.
Well, it is. And we need to speak about it a whole lot more. And imagine how that affects you in your daily life, affects your relationship, affects your family. What about your workplace? What about your productivity? What about the workplace? Imagine what you could be achieving if you address some of these issues, these internal issues, and how that can reflect on your performance at work.
Well, number one male killer is suicide.
Yep.
And
from the age group of 15 to 55, is that right?
Yeah, and I can't stress enough that like people don't think it's happening because it hasn't happened to them yet. But like any day now with figures that high, it's any day. I've been subject to it. I've lost a couple of people from high school to it, a couple of people from other high schools as well. Yes. And it's a huge tragedy. It is massive.
And it's academic proportions in high schools, and they don't talk about it. No one's talking about it.
Yeah.
But when you actually, meet people in the street and people who you work, who you come across in your daily life who suffered that tragedy, it's just unbelievable, tragic, unbelievably tragic. I had a cousin that he lost his life to suicide only about 2 weeks ago, and that the tragedy in that in the entire family reverberated right up and down the East Coast because they live up in northern Queensland and we live in Victoria. So, that was the extent of the impact, and we need to talk about it. If you're not feeling fantastic, go and talk to somebody. It's not the answer. It certainly is not the answer. Realistically, at the end of the day, if you're feeling any pain and you're considering a act of self-harm upon yourself, to deal with that, to take you out of the equation because your family would be better off, let me tell you, all you're going to do is transfer that pain that you're experiencing onto your wife and children. So then your wife, for the rest of her life, lives with that pain, and your children will carry that pain for their entire lives, and you're actually setting them up for a really big fall. You can control all that by getting help and speaking to somebody or seeking some sort of assistance.
Yeah, I've just got a list here of there's some warning signs, and the first one's chest pain. For men's mental health, any sort of chest pain.
Oh, that's right, because that goes along with anxiety, doesn't it? Acute anxiety brings on chest pain. You think you're having a heart attack.
Yep, shortness of breath.
Yes,
would tie into that
pressure
as well.
in the chest, and it's all psychological.
Yeah, fatigue is a huge one as well.
Yes,
dizziness, excessive thirst, memory loss, all things that can lead to a decline of health for males. But I think the chest pain is a huge one. Just it comes off the bat straight away.
It certainly does. Now, then this week, there's a number of activities that are going on for Men's Health Week. You can access that calendar of things that are functioning from the 8th of June 2024 through to the 16th via the website of the Australian Men's Health Forum, AMHF. AMHF, which is a fantastic website to have a look at, or what's about and how to do that. If you're struggling or you have an issue, please, we recommend that you have a chat to a friend. Go and sit down with someone you trust, be it, man, woman, anybody. Could be your dog. And have a bit of a conversation with them. If you can't find anyone, please ring Lifeline on 131114. Or if you're in a crisis, please attend your emergency department at a local hospital or ring 000.
And, men are needed, and I feel like they need to hear that a lot more and almost every single day.
They certainly are, mate. That's a very, very good point. Men are needed in every way, shape and form, and every aspect of life. You are needed. So make sure you hang around, because life is full of wonderful, wonderful stuff, and you don't want to miss out.
That's exactly right.
Would this wrap this one?
Perfect. I think we've covered everything we want to cover. Some encouraging word for men. All problems are temporary.
Yes.
You can get through them.
Yes.
There's light on the other side of the darkness of the tunnel.
There is.
And if you can't see the light yet, you got to keep walking down the darkness. You haven't walked far enough.
That's correct.
There's always light at the end.
And everyone gives up inches from their goal.
Yep.
Right? Everyone turns back only centimetres away from what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, so I guess, reward yourself, engage in some self-care activities, whatever that may be, spending time with the family, even some meditation, mindfulness, reading, go bang some nails in some wood or something, whatever you like doing. Yep. Drive your car,
yes.
Anything, just reward yourself. Yes. Throughout hard times.
Absolutely.
Be grateful in spite of your suffering, because you are learning a lot during this time.
Yes.
And you'll come out the other side, because everyone's important, everyone has a purpose, and we need our men desperately right now. So
wonderful stuff, mate. That is really, really good sound advice. Really good. Fantastic.
Thank you. Very passionate about it. So
all right, no worries. If you want to find us, you can find us on Facebook, or you can look at our website, Aim the Men, and send us a line. Let us know what you think about men's health. You take care, and we'll speak to you soon. See you, Remy.
See you later. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.